This morning, let's talk about testifying. Testifying. Some of y'all maybe not remember what does it mean or what was it like rather to be in a testimony service. You remember that? I grew up in Holiness Church, and there was not a morning worship that I attended in my younger years that did not have testimony service. Even when I became a chaplain, I would be over some services, and when I came in, they would have testimony service, and I immediately cut it out. Why? Because sometimes the testimonies would be way off. They all off into everything, taking the worship experience to another whole place. And I'm not talking about leveling up. I'm talking about leveling down. But nevertheless, this morning, let's talk about I got a testimony. I got a testimony. I have to testify. Well, before we do that, I just want to greet some folk and then get right into the word on this morning. Good morning, Sharon. How are you on this morning? Good morning, Peggy. How are you on this morning? Joelle, how is Mississippi this morning? Good morning, Celestine. How are you, home girl? How you doing, Pastor Richard? Um, my pastor in Monrovia, New Life Monrovia. Look at you. I'm glad that you are on this morning. I've seen that you're trying to get a hold of me, but I've been real busy. We'll talk. We'll talk for sure. Good morning, Brenda. How are you on this morning? Good morning, Carolyn. How are you? Brenda's sister in the house on this morning. Ella, how are you on this morning? Melanie, how are you on this morning? Been a minute. Been a minute. Ori, how are you? Peggy, how are you on this morning? Barbara, how are you on this morning? Hey, look, got a word for you on this morning. Put it in the chat area. Let me just have a little brief interaction here, some engagement, if you will. Do you remember going to church and they had testimony service? I remember in my father's church, St. Bethel United Holy Church in Middlesex, North Carolina, the church I got married in. And they would have a testimony service. And there was one lady, I will not call her name. She is with the Lord now. But every time we had church, she had the same testimony. And she talked more about the devil than she did about God. My Lord. She just raised up the enemy all the time, could never talk about Jesus. Well, that's why we had to cut them testimony services out. But anyhow, look at here. Let's talk about that on this morning, because this morning, as you know, this is Pentecost week. This is Pentecost week. And the perspective that we're coming on our morning manna is the testimony, to testify, to tell the story, to be a witness. That's what we talked about on yesterday, to be a witness. So let's get into that on this morning. Let's get into that on this morning. The text to talk, the takeaway, 5 minutes or less. And then I need you to share the manna. Share it right now. The text is this, John 1 and 2. John 1 and 2 says this: the life appeared, we have seen it and testified to it. Now, John is writing from the first person, if you will, in this particular thing. I'm sorry, the third person. And he is saying his book is about what he has seen. Notice this. He says, I testify to it, and we proclaim to you the eternal life. He's talking about Jesus. Check this. Which was with the Father and appeared to us. He's talking about Jesus. Let's say it again. First, John 1 and 2. The life appeared, we have seen it and testified to it, and we proclaim to you the eternal life which was with the Father and appeared to us. He's talking about Jesus. He says, look, I've seen him. I walk with him. I bear witness to him. I was with him at the Last Supper. I saw him on the cross and die. I saw him after he got up, and I saw him when he was ascended. There's nothing more moving than to see someone, especially in their last days. John says, I saw all of that and I could not keep it to myself. So I raised the question to you. Do you have a testimony? And if you do, it should sound like this. Tell of his goodness. Tell of his goodness. Don't be like that mother that was in that church who always talked about the enemy, what ain't right, what's not going well, what the devil's done to you. No, you tell of his goodness. Tell he's good irrespective of what's going on with you. The second thing is this: tell of the deliverance in your life. You mean to tell me that in all your living, there's not one thing he's done for you, delivered you out of? His goodness, his deliverance in your life, whatever it may be. Here's the third thing I want you to grab a hold of, and that is tell of your hopes and your fears that he has dealt with. Your hopes and your fears. Many times we like to keep our fears and all to ourselves. But the fact is that because I fear, I also have hope. And I'm going to tell somebody about it because I want to be transparent in the moment. What's your takeaway this morning? When we're talking about this week, it's Pentecost week, and we have the power that we might be a witness and testify. Your takeaway is this: we overcome by the words of our testimony. There is nothing more powerful than a story of coming out. We overcome by the words of our testimony, as well as we help others. The Lord be with you today. His face shine upon you and give you peace. Share this, man. If it bless you, bless somebody else. Don't keep it to yourself. I'll see you tomorrow morning with more morning manna, as well as First Lady and I, of course, will be having our prayer, our midweek morning prayer at 7:15. God bless you. Share the manna. Bye now.